There we go. It's awesome out here right now. I'm going to try to keep it down so I'm not doing my usual yelling my head off, but it's awesome out here right now because there's nobody around. So Iron Maiden kicked off their new tour, Future Past tour, which is kind of weird because Duran Duran are also on the Future Past tour, and Maiden and Duran Duran are my two favorite bands, as you probably know from all the stuff I'm done on them. But yeah, it's because they're both the same age too, 40 years. They have a lot of weird similarities between the two bands. But anyway, they kicked off their tour the other night, and this is the kind of the last holy grail type thing that fans wanted ever since they introduced these history tours at the early part of the millennium. Somewhere in time, it has always been overlooked for whatever reason. Well, I think I know the reason. I'll tell you the reason. We'll get to it. But so they had done almost every era in one way or another, except for Somewhere in Time and the downturn period. Anything from the 90s, basically. They haven't really done a history tour for that stuff, and I doubt they will. But I was watching some of the videos from the opening night over at Captain Harris's channel, and the crowd, before they even come on, as soon as they start the Blade Runner music, people start going nuts. Because that's how they opened the original Somewhere in Time shows, which I happened to see in Worcester, Massachusetts in 1986. Was awesome. Wasted opened. Anyway, so as soon as the Blade Runner music starts up, the people in the crowd, and I'll link the video below, they're going, "Oh my God, oh my God." It's fucking funny. They're losing their shit. But and when they start Caught Somewhere in Time, which is what they open with, they let the first few riffs are on tape. They did the same thing in 1986, and then they come out with the when that kicks in. They sounded great. Bruce sounds great. I was really impressed by that, and the set list is pretty amazing. Of course, you have Caught Somewhere in Time, Wasted Years, Stranger in a Strange Land, Heaven Can Wait, which, whatever, we've seen that over the years. And Alexander the Great, finally. They finally played that. That has to be the most asked for, requested Maiden song out of all of them, I would think, throughout the years. And I don't know why they never really did that one. I think it had something to do with it was in a high register or something, I heard. Like, it's high up there for Bruce, but he did a great job with it. And I don't know, there's other stuff. I think that's why they didn't do Regal's Dare for a long time, or they didn't do it back in the day too much. Anyway, the stage set is cool. It's kind of, it's not bare or anything. It has like a lot of screens, but there's no like on stage kind of inflatable. Well, I don't think there were inflatables. I didn't see if they did any inflatables. I don't think I watched that part. If they did, I don't think they did the hands and the head like they did in '86. But the reason I think they avoided doing Somewhere in Time for so long is when that album first came out. I mean, I love that album. A lot of people love it now. But there was kind of a feeling like they were getting a little bit too commercial, I guess, in fan circles at the time. And at the dawn of the 90s, when Maiden was trying to return to their street sound that they never really had, I don't understand that. They always talk about it. Yeah, they want to get, back to more of that street sound, like on the first two albums, it's like, well, I don't know about a street sound. They had streets on the album covers, if that's what that is. But they made this hard pivot to kind of go back to a simpler, less prog direction in the early 90s. And at that time, they were kind of down on the Somewhere in Time album, and even Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. You know, that Bruce and Steve were referring to it as kind of a mistake, or where they'd gone off track, meaning Somewhere in Time and Seventh Son. And with this new album they were doing at the time, at the beginning of the 90s, No Prayer for the Dying, they were going to go back to, like, you know, a more raw sound. That didn't work out. But yeah, so around that time in the early 90s, they kind of started having a bad attitude towards Somewhere in Time. And now, years later, it's considered a classic album. And, you know, the opinions have changed on it. I never had a problem with it. I always liked it. Yeah, it was a change for them to use the guitar synths. I remember at the same time, Judas Priest did the same thing for Turbo, but I think Maiden used them a lot better. Was a lot more subtle than what Priest was doing. But yeah, their feelings toward that album is what I think kept them away from it for so long, or the way they felt at that time. So when they started doing all these history tours, you know, they've just about covered every little section of their history. So Somewhere in Time was the last one left. And the fans, the Maiden fans, are just like, were rabid for this thing to happen. So, I mean, it's a great thing to have it going on now. And watching the footage from that first show, I've only seen footage from the first show. They sound so good. And that solo Adrian does and Caught Somewhere in Time, amazing shit. This has to be, I would think, the last of these history tours. I can't see them doing the Fear of the Dark, No Prayer for the Dying tour. They certainly wouldn't do an X Factor. You know, they wouldn't do the Blaze albums, I don't think. If they were going to do something like that, I would say they would cover all 4 of the 90s albums, but I just can't see them doing that. Yeah, it was their, like, sort of fallow period. And it's still kind of looked at that way, even more so now than like it was before. So, I mean, not so much by the fans, but, I mean, some fans. I love the 90s shit, but not in the same way that I love the 80s stuff, but I still appreciate it, you know. I don't think it's that bad. I was there for every release, you know, when that stuff first came out. And I liked everything as it came out, except for Virtual 11. I wasn't too into that. It was just kind of like, I remember it coming out and seeing that Angel and the Gambler video, and it was weird, that song, but to me it was almost like Steve trying to do like almost like a UFO type thing. She's a big UFO fan, you know, if you, obviously, but it just seemed boring to me. I wasn't that into it. And I don't see them doing a history tour for the 90s stuff. So this is probably the last of these history tours. And I could see them doing another album or another tour, like a new album. But, I mean, I think we've seen the last of these history tours. Unless they do some kind of thing like they did a few years ago with the Legacy of the Beast tour, where it was like a tour based on the video game. I mean, there's still ways they can present the older material in an interesting way, but as far as like these, the tours set up by years, this is probably the last of these. I can't see, you know, how they would go to something else, unless they start getting real specific and just recreating each album tour. But we just don't have time for that. These guys they got to be almost in their 70s now. I'd say they're mid 60s. I don't even know. Think about that. How old are these guys now? Shit. They're close. They're in shooting range of their 70s. But yeah, I saw the original Somewhere in Time in 1986. Excuse me. The Worcester Centrum Massachusetts, wasted open. And I remember they opened with Caught Somewhere in Time, of course. And for the first like song and a half, Bruce didn't move. I thought like there was something wrong with him. And I remember thinking, did he break his leg or something? I thought I saw a cast. I was like, did he hurt himself? Because he wasn't moving. He was just kind of standing in place. I think maybe it had something to do with that jacket. Yeah, because it was like a jacket with all these light up things on it. So I think it had something to do with that. But a song, and halfway through the second song in the set, he moved it. And then he moved around a lot more. But yeah, that show was awesome. That was a good gig, the 86 one. That's the first time I saw them, actually. It was awesome. But yeah, it's sounding good. You know, they always sound good. It's kind of amazing what they've done. You know, there's not many bands like that were able to kind of come back the way they have and now be more popular than they were when they were around the first time. And to be having like a much larger concert kind of draw and the popularity they're experiencing now. I mean, there's not really any other band I could think of like that kind of went into such a fallow period and then just pulled up on the pulled the nose off the ground and get the plane back in the air. It's pretty crazy. It's just great to see them. And you know, hopefully we still have them for a few more years yet. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, how good they sounded and how awesome that looked. And those people were so psyched. You have to watch like the first like few minutes of that video when they're just playing the Blade Runner music. The people are so funny. They're just losing their shit. It's just great to see. Fun stuff. All right. I gotta head in before it hits the witching hour. The other channel's down right now. I got a strike for inciting violence. Kind of weird. I watched the video and yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. I don't cite violence. In fact, I'm a non-aggression principle guy. You know, you can't fight the beast with violence. So it's probably just someone just, you know, who doesn't like what I'm saying. I get that, you know. But with YouTube, it's weird. Like, they don't explain you exactly what it was. Because this is my second one of these things. And they don't tell you where or what or the words or anything like that. You know, like inciting violence. I watched the video. It was about, I'm not going to get into it here. It's about Maiden. Who cares? So I'm gone for 7 days on the other channel. But, you know, I'll be back. Like an STD. Don't blame the teacher. Blame the school.